Hello everyone. So Jim has asked me to do a takeover and he put some questions on his Instagram stories and I'm going to answer them. So without further ado, let's jump in. Do you think you'd have another child after your HG experience, or would you consider adoption? So for anyone that doesn't know, HG stands for Hyperemesis gravidarium, I think that's how you pronounce it, and popularly known as the thing that Kate Middleton had. So it's where you're really sick during your pregnancy. But absolutely yes, I would have another child in a heartbeat. I would do it all again because you kind of like, you forget. It's really weird, like you have your baby and you're just like, it wasn't that bad. And yeah, I would, and she brings me so much joy and she's just such a delight and such a treasure that I would absolutely do it again. And I think I would just, perhaps now in hindsight of having gone through it, I would perhaps manage it differently, and there are things that I would do differently, like not move house. Actually, adoption, it is actually something that Jim and I are talking about. It's difficult because you have this desire to, I have a desire to have my own child and be pregnant again and bear a child, but I also think that it's a really noble thing to adopt a child. And I'm not sure when Jim's going to upload this, so for context, at the moment in the world is the war in Ukraine. We've also had, since Margot was born, or since I've been pregnant, there's been crisis in Syria. We've had what's gone on in Afghanistan, stuff I'm watching on the news, and I'm seeing these babies, and I have to be honest, I sobbed last night watching the news. So yeah, adoption, it is something that we are discussing. I know that it's a really important decision to make. Oh my goodness, I get this question so much. Did you know who Jim was and what his job was before you started dating? Honestly, no. I know this must seem really wild. It obviously does, because I get every now and again I get really weird messages being like, you're so desperate to be famous, oh my god, you must have just been so desperate to date Jim. And like, they can't understand that I genuinely did not have a notion of YouTube. It wasn't really on my radar, and I guess you start to kind of have crossovers, or I kind of remember it then at university joining Instagram, and I would see people that were big on Instagram and things, things might come up on your explore page and you're like, oh, they look cool. But I don't think I ever like followed and thought, yeah, I know who you are, like you're really cool, which was very strange to me, like quite a shock when we first got together, because I was very surprised at, it's like, why are people interested in you? Like, who are you? I actually think it's quite funny. So Jim and I met online on an app. To be honest, a lot of people that were on there, the guys only wanted one thing, and Jim and I matched and we started chatting, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's really nice, he's really normal. A little bit keen, but really normal. So we met. We actually, our first date, we met and Nick saved the table for us because he was like, oh, we're gonna meet at this place, and it was really busy, and I don't know how, but he'd been talking to his sister and he was like, oh my god, no, that's where I'm gonna meet this girl, and it's really busy. And she's like, don't worry, I'll get a really good table, I'll wait, I'll save you a spot. So weirdly, on our first date, I also met one of his sisters. But yeah, then we met and the rest is history. So that was that question that no one asked, but I gave you. Anyway, Sarah, you're lovely. I'd love to know you more. What were you doing 3 years before meeting Jim? I presume this is because Jim and I have been together about 3 years, so it's what I did in the 3 years before. Otherwise, 3 years is quite a rogue choice of a number. How I was 3 years before meeting Jim. Honestly, I was not so good. I've spoken about this a little bit on my social media. I really struggled with like quite a lot of anxiety, and I was quite depressed, and I actually took a lot of time out of university, which that was a lot earlier than 3 years, but I took a lot of time out of university. I ended up deferring for a year and then going back. And I think that just kind of stayed with me for quite a while, and I felt like it took a long time to really, I don't know, like just like myself really. And I think working as a model, when you kind of are constantly told you don't look right, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too tall, you're too whatever, I think that alongside just kind of not knowing who I was, I had this real, it sounds really silly now, but I just genuinely believed that no one in the world liked me, and I was this awful person, and that I wasn't really very lovable. And all I ever wanted from when I was really young, I just wanted to be a mum and to have a family. And I met Jim, and suddenly, I don't know, my life, I felt like that was achievable. Don't get me wrong, we're not like codependent on each other, but I think there's something really lovely about when you meet someone and you realise like they love me for who I am regardless, and they're gonna keep being there through everything, and you start to kind of accept yourself a bit more and realise like actually I'm not that bad. So yeah, the 3 years before Jim weren't that great, but now here we are, and I do have my family, and yeah, very, very, very happy. So thank you for that question. What is the most surprising thing about me and being a mum? I get questions like this quite a lot, and I guess the most surprising thing is that actually it doesn't really, I don't know, perhaps I'm just speaking for myself, but it's actually, what surprised me is that it doesn't feel like a surprise. It just kind of feels natural what to do, when to do it, and you just think, okay, that's my child. And you just, I don't know, I think when I was pregnant, I was really thinking, how on earth am I gonna manage? What am I gonna do? They don't, you don't get a handbook on how to, excuse me, you don't get a handbook on how to be a mum. But then now she's here, it just feels quite natural. How did you get into your modelling career? So I was scouted. I was first scouted when I think I was about 12 years old. I was scouted at the Clothes Show in Birmingham, and I was there with my mum and some friends, and I was scouted by Select. And I went up to London for the day, they took Polaroids, and they said, you're really young because you're 12 or 13 or whatever, however old I was, and they said, come back when you're a bit older. And I begged and begged and begged my mum and dad, I said, please, 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 can I go up to London? And my parents live in the Cotswolds, I was at school in the Cotswolds, and my mum said, finish your GCSEs and then you can go. So I begged and begged and begged. And then I was scouted, I was in London with some friends, and I was scouted by Storm, and I said to my mum, please, 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 I really want to go, I want to go. But I was still a minor, so my mum and dad had to go, and my parents said, well, do your A-levels, finish your A-levels and then you can go. And so I started doing my A-levels, and then I was scouted a third time. I went and found a modelling agency on my own, and I just walked in and said, you've scouted me, so I joined Next. I went, you scouted me, hi. And then just told my mum and dad, hi, I'm gonna model now. And I started modelling whilst I was at university, and I used to kind of commute down to London. And honestly, it just really got too much, and I wasn't, a lot of modelling is, obviously it's who's great for the job, but a lot of it's also like being at the right time in the right place. And I missed a lot of those opportunities because I was at university, but I also feel like I missed throwing myself into university because I was trying to be a model. And I think, going back to right at the start of the question where I said I felt a bit lost and quite anxious, I think a lot of that kind of was a cycle, because I didn't really feel like I had my place, because I was trying to be two different people at once. And then I was sat there thinking, oh, I'm such a failure, I've not made it as a model. But I was also thinking, I'm such a failure because I've got no friends at uni and I'm so sad. And yeah, so I then took a year out at university because I was feeling quite low. I actually ended up going into a treatment centre because I was very, very depressed. And once I started to get better, and I had just wonderful, wonderful friends and family around me, and they really supported me to, yeah, find myself. And I thought, you know what, this is what makes me happy. So I modelled a lot more seriously then. I left my first agency. I moved to a smaller, like more boutique-y agency, and they really supported me. They supported me going back and forth to uni. They were just fab, actually. Why does she want to be the centre of attention in your videos? Oh, thank you. I don't want to be centre of attention. I think I kind of touched on this when I mentioned about my skin, which, thank you everyone for all of your really, really lovely, kind messages. I have seen them, I've read them, and they are wonderful. But I think I touched on this. I really don't want to be centre of attention at all. I think that what you think it's going to be like, especially when I first got together with Jim, I was like, oh, this is quite fun and this is quite cool. And to be honest, I think it was me that was quite pushy to say, why don't you show me on your social media? Like, why are you hiding me? And I think I felt quite upset by it, because I thought that he was embarrassed by me, or he didn't like me, or I had done something wrong, and it was me going, why don't you like me? Why don't you like me? Poor bloke was just trying to protect me. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for listening to me ramble on. Jim, I hope you've had fun editing me. I'm sure there's lots of things, ums and ahs, you've had to edit, because I'm not a pro at this. I can actually hear Margot. I think it's time for her to have a bath. So I am gonna go and bath my daughter good night. I'm gonna try and do the wink. Okay, good night, thank you.